Trevor Carey Show on Power Talk 96.7 and AM 1400. Write it down.
Hey, the Trevor Nation Deplorable Tour. We're going to be out this Friday, Cosmopolitan, downtown Fresno. That's O Street. Thanks to everybody that came out to Fatty Albert's Friday. Love shaking your hand. I'm going to shake his hand across the phoneway here, all the way to the nation of Texas. Paul Sabo. Paul, welcome in, sir. Thank you for being here with us.
Glad to be with you and your listeners, Trevor. Thanks so much for having me.
Now, Paul, listen, how long did you live in California?
43 years, minus a stint in Iraq for military and a 6-year presidential fellowship back in D.C.
Okay, so you got a lot of California in your blood. Your family does, I guess, as well.
Absolutely.
So to leave the Golden State. Now, Paul, I wake up some mornings and just want to vomit what I hear coming from these socialist seditionists in Sacramento. I feel like we're missionaries out here being a conservative in California. Out in the battlefield right here, you battled. You ran for Congress. What did you learn running from Congress?
You know, it was, so I've got a wife and 4 kids. My priority is making sure my kids have got a great community to run. And I ran for Congress because the Inland Empire that I was living in and patrolled as a deputy sheriff reserve and lived and worked in went from being a good conservative community a generation ago when I was in school there to a place that was unrecognizable. Gangs,
they
drugs,
tagged. I say the Inland Empire. They tag the palm trees because they've run out of things to tag.
Yeah, absolutely, it is unrecognizable, Trevor. And so, what was so frustrating was for myself and my family, my wife, who was born and raised there as well, was to really look at California as a shell of its former self. No longer the great state with good jobs. The schools are now bottom percentile. AB 109, Prop 47, criminals on the streets, just unrecognizable. So it was a pretty easy decision for us after we lost our race to basically say, you can't help people who don't want to help themselves in that particular area. So we pulled up stakes, moved to Texas, and doing all we can to talk about what makes up a great community in America through this new business venture we kicked off. Interesting.
The tax money going for illegals who run into our schools, into safe spaces, and then they get hired attorneys that we have to pay for. That's almost the one that made me say, iHeart, can I ISD in this from Fort Worth, please? Every day, I'm telling you, Governor Brown calling us freeloaders because we're upset over the tax hike. I mean, Paul, we could sit here and talk till about 9 or 10 o'clock tonight, the long list of everything why you should leave. Paul, I lived in Texas as a kid. My dad went to Dallas Theological Seminary, and we lived in a little town called Hubbard. Where are you?
We're in a town called McKinney. It's in North Texas. It's in Collin County. Collin County is the most conservative county in Texas these days, albeit under attack by the Dems as they are on the march across many areas of this country.
Now, you're up in Tornado Alley.
We are, and we've experienced our first major hailstorm 3 months ago, and got our cars totaled, the roof totaled, and lived in a closet for a few hours. But
see, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen in California. We just get our cars broken into by humans.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
But actually, my buddy lives up in Ada, Oklahoma, and he grew up in the Bay Area, and he moved there in about 1999, right before 2000. And I thought he'll be back in a year. He's in Ada, that's southeast part of Oklahoma, not far from you there, Paul. But he hasn't come back.
Gotcha.
He said absolutely not.
Yep. A lot have not. So we moved out. We kicked off this business called Conservative Move, and basically the project, if you will, helps fellow conservatives in liberal regions of the country move from there and here to North Texas. We've got realtors on both sides of the aisle. We've been operational for 8 days now. Already 1,000 families have signed up. 75% are from California. But, Trevor, the other item that we want to talk about with Conservative Move is not just the business capitalist side, which it clearly is, but it also should engage a conversation nationally with what are the core qualities that make up a good community. And clearly the liberals have destroyed good communities. They've destroyed great states like my home state of California.
Yeah. So I think at the top would be don't open the jail cells to let guys who haven't served their time out yet.
Yeah. No, Trevor, you're right. And as a side note, I worked in the state prison system as a Governor Schwarzenegger State Parole Board Commissioner for 3 terms. I could not get the state to give me the numbers on how many illegal aliens were in there. I did my own research. This was back in 2005, 2006, 2007. On the low ball, I was able to estimate 20% of the state population, about 180,000 at that time, 20% of that were illegal alien gang members, hardened gang members who kept crossing the border over and over again and re-victimizing our population.
In our prison, you were saying about 20% of the population.
20% of the state prison population.
Well, we just had a report, Paul, coming out this week that in California we spend $12,000 a child in school, and we spend $75,000 for inmates.
It's asinine. I know.
So, how long you been in the great state of Texas?
We've been here since January. And
what's the difference? Tell everybody here in the Central Valley, because to conservatives here, it sounds like like your vacation in Hawaii to be in conservative land like that. So, give us the real deal. What's it like?
Yep. So I will. Let me just say very much thank you to your listeners in the Valley. I know you're in a conservative but challenged region of the state, so thanks for being on the front lines. That's critical. So what is it like being in Texas? I compare it to this. When I left California, I felt like I left a bad relationship, and once I was out of that relationship, I didn't know how bad it truly was until you're truly out of it. So out here, you can breathe. You can, be Second Amendment. You can look for great paying jobs and not worry about it. Gas is $1.97 a gallon. You don't hear about the ridiculous sanctuary state issues that you do in California. Here's the big thing for me. As I grew up, in California, as you know, my kids' schools, I can put them in public schools here. I couldn't do that back home. Here in Texas, I can do that. There's no lockers on the kids' lockers in the school, which blew my mind, and there's no problems. None of the kids lock up their bikes, which again blew my mind, because in California, I had 3 bikes stolen as they were locked up. The crimes were just out of control. So out here, you feel like you've gone back in time to America when people respected one another. There was a good sense of community and family values.
My son's in the Air Force, and he's in San Antonio. He's like, sends me a picture, chilling by the pool, had a book, his water bottle, and his gun.
That's right.
Have you been in the grocery store yet? What do they got there? H-E-B, I remember, or Kroger. Grocery stores are different. But anyhow, I remember, have you seen anybody with it? Because can't you open carry in Texas, right? Yeah.
You can't. I don't. My wife and I had our CCWs from California, and we just got our permits in the mail for here in Texas. Very easy. And because your car is your property in Texas, you don't even need a permit. Your car is your property, like your home is, and you can have a concealed weapon in your car in Texas.
I love the rifles, don't you, in the back window of the pickups?
Absolutely. Hey, by the way, Trevor, not to rub this into my good friends in California, but I was back there last month, and I forgot that you all got to pay for plastic bags.
Oh, that's a new one. Except Fresno Ag Hardware, I found out this weekend. They're one of my endorsements. I was there shopping, and I said, I'll take a bag, thinking I'd have to pay the $10. She's like, no, bags are free. And I went, whoa, we got to put that in the commercial. But outside of that, that's right. Bags are free in Texas. The people in Texas, they really look at themselves as Texans, and then we're Americans too, but we're Texans, don't they?
They do. And so here's what's amazing. Not only do they pledge of allegiance to the U.S. flag, they do a pledge to the Texas flag. They do it in the public schools, and I love it. And my kids have to learn it, and they stand up, and they do both. There's a big sense of pride. And to learn Texas tradition and history and how they stood alone and with where this nation is going, they may end up, being a leader to help turn the tide. And that's why being here in Texas is so critical for us, because if we think Texas falls, the country falls. That this really is the last bastion, I think, of hope as a conservative nation. And the Democrats have tried and tried and tried, and they're really growing their movement here in Texas, and that's what we want to try to prevent. So through Conservative Move, we can help folks get here, live here, be a part of the community, and get active boots on the ground.
One of the thrills of my life were to interview Texas Congressman Ron Paul back in 2008.
Right.
And I said, do you ever lay there at night, Congressman, just thinking just to pull out of the union and become president of Texas? He goes, I've thought about it a few times. But I always, a very strong congressman, Ron Paul from Texas. He's another reason I love Texas.
Absolutely, and they have a part-time legislature out here. They don't get paid that much. They come together every 2 years. It's a huge state. If California did that, you wouldn't have 99% of the ridiculous bills going forward out there.
And you got a great governor in Abbott right there. Have you heard anything about, is he looking for a national spot potentially? Because he's got what it takes, in my opinion.
I hope so. Texans here love him. He is absolutely respected. You got a few crazy wacko states out here or cities in Texas that lean left. Austin, Houston.
That sheriff down there, Sanctuary Sally.
Yep, that is her. And he's taking it, and the legislature's taking it to him, saying, if you violate the law, you're violating the law.
And the thing about your State Bill 4 there is they're running off with it like they do here on Telemundo and all they make it seem as if knock knock knock. Oh, you have darker skin pigmentation. Are you here legally? Show us your. They make everybody think the police are going to run into houses and then to the restaurant at Taco Bell and make everybody get on the ground. It's fear.
Yep. And out here in Texas, there is just a sense of respect for the law, a sense of respect for people and dignity and just what it means to be wholesome. When we moved into our neighborhood, people brought over baked pies, baked goods, welcomed us, invited us to the church. In California, we didn't even really know our neighbors
anymore. See, it's so different. And the East Coast, I've lived all over, but it's much more community minded. Out west, we're more transient, we're more garage up, garage down. That sense of community. Not that it doesn't exist, because believe me, I've gotten out and shaken a lot of hands here, as you did when you were campaigning. Right. There's some good people that have that Texas quality in them here in California, especially here in the Central Valley. There's times it actually kind of reminds me of maybe feel like I'm out in Denton, Texas somewhere at a diner sometimes when you're up in the foothills here. It has that feel. So conservativemove.com, you're saying helping you move the right way. What kind of help do you give, Paul?
Yep, so we have...
We can stay at your house. For how long do we get to stay till we find a place?
Yeah, if they want to babysit my 4 kids, hey, we'll go for it. So we have realtors in California who help, we have a number of homes that are going up to market now. Our first one is up in San Bernardino County. We've got HBO coming out to film this whole phenomenon of conservative move. We were on Fox Business this morning, and we just keep telling the story. So if somebody wants to relocate to a conservative area, they simply visit our website at conservativemove.com. They fill out the contact information. It goes right to me. I review it, and then I reach out to them, and I reach out to our California realtors who help them sell their property, and our Texas realtor, Derek Baker, 8th-generation Texan. He worked for Mike Spence before Mike Spence was VP, and we line them up and help them find their home of their dreams out here in Texas. We also help people find jobs. That's critical. And once we get them boots on the ground in Texas, we want them to register to vote, get involved in their community out here, and help us build.
You're the biggest enemy to the state of California, Paul, but I like it. Become Paul Zillow Sabo right now and tell me, let's say, the median price here in Fresno, I think, is about $240,000 a year for a house, median price. What is it in your town?
So, yeah, in our town, it's a little bit higher here in North Texas. Article just came out, Dallas Morning News on Saturday. Average home here in Collin County is about $230,000. They've seen a massive rise, 50% over 10 years. And this whole area of Collin County, it's about 20 cities. About 4 of the cities made the top 10 of best places to raise a family. It reminds me of Orange County in the 1970s before it was built out. So a lot of people here are actually already from California. My neighbor, the mailman, the guy at Home Depot who I go to get plumbing. So many people have already moved out here from California that it kind of feels, in a sense, that many of your neighbors have escaped for the same reasons, and you share those same sort of values and senses. But property values out here, like many areas of the country, are definitely going up. Now, you can get something, down by a lake, so many open areas of Texas for $150,000, if not less. And if you're a disabled veteran, they waive your property taxes in many counties out here, and vets obviously can use their VA loan, 0 down. A lot of opportunities. And lastly, if you're a business owner and you're a veteran, unlike California that charged me as a veteran $800 a year state tax just to be a business, Texas doesn't do that for veterans. For your first 5 years, they waive that completely. So very business-friendly, veteran-friendly, family-friendly.
Now, you've lived a winter, right?
I have lived a what now? I'm sorry.
A winter? Have you lived the whole winter there? Or when did you move? In January, did you say?
Yeah, January. It didn't feel like a winter. We were told it's a little bit more mild than typical, but North Texas, they said occasionally you'll get some ice.
Oh, it's called a norther.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, they'll say a norther's coming through. That means it can be 78, and then by 6 o'clock at night, it's going to be 32. Boy, I've never seen weather change so quickly as there. Now, let me ask you, Paul, you grew up years in California. What's your pro NFL team?
Well, I got to go back to I'm not a NFL. I'm a college guy. I went to Southern Cal, so I follow college football.
It's going to be tough in Texas to be a California fan.
I got to be Dallas, even if I'm not Dallas.
Oh, yeah, you better keep that quiet.
Cap and the star on my truck.
You better. Well, there it is. ConservativeMove.com, Paul Chabot. Paul, I think you've made everybody start to drool here talking about lockers open, bicycles, not having to lock them up. Paul Paul, thanks, man. We'll be in conversation there. That is a great little thing if you're looking to go back to Texas. ConservativeMood.com. I think I have a birthday present coming in just a moment. Guillermo's always walking.